Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self realization. Please subscribe for the mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring the book Advice to Householders, authored by Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently studying the importance of education. The supreme freedom, along with a dynamic spiritual independence within the family, children should grow up with a sense of healthy freedom and independence. There is a great difference between the Eastern culture and the Western culture and the families, how they are brought up. Many Westerners never had a family. To be separated from father, from mother, from brothers means nothing. But to an Eastern mind, it seems terrible to be separated. But that should not be so. If the family lives with a healthy philosophy, vairagya or dispassion develops, you learn to see yourself as a spirit that is essentially free. Just like we come alone in this world and then ultimately we depart alone also. That development of vairagya does not mean that you become indifferent to the family. Rather, you become more efficient in your life, more qualitative in your expressions, and more harmonized in your dealings with others. A sense of real freedom never causes hurt to others. Realization of the self involves discovering an endless sense of freedom within you, and it will never hurt anyone. But it is the lack of a sense of freedom that hurts everyone, no matter how good the situation may be. The supreme freedom lies in realizing God and attaining liberation from the cycles of birth and death. Otherwise, we are in perpetual bondage, even though we may think we are free. So let's move on to the next chapter. What is love? A profound topic indeed. The illusion of sexual freedom. There is a great misconception in today's world. Members of the modern generation feel that they are more culturally advanced than people who have come before them because now they enjoy more freedom in the realm of senses than their forefathers. They consider this so called freedom as a mark of progress, as something highly desirable, but the truth is actually quite the contrary. Unbridled passion and uncontrolled sexuality existed in the past just as it does now. But in olden times, it was considered negative by society. It was viewed as a taint of personality which an individual should not be proud of. An individual who was a prey to weakness was advised to seek the guidance of the wise. In the past, weaknesses in character were not adored or sanctioned. But today, people have started worshipping their lower self. They are proud of sexual freedom. They are not ashamed of living a life of slavery to the senses. Young people in this materialistic society are led by the communications media and by the misguided example of many of their elders to believe that sexuality is fun and fun is what life is all about. Eat, drink, be merry, but they forget the true bliss is within. They are not aware of the fact that by their so called sexual freedom, they are degrading themselves physically, psychologically, and morally. And in addition, they are contributing to the degradation of society also, where the true samskaras and ethics are degraded. Any promiscuity and frivolous sex involvement leads to a dilapidated mind, ill health, and guilty conscience. So, just sexual freedom by itself is not the answer to our happiness, although it gives you temporary joy, but then followed by pain. In Sanskrit, they call them wish yukt laddu, meaning though they feel like very tempting desserts, when you eat them, they have poison in them, meaning they give you pain. Uh, in the end. Any aspirant, regardless of age or stage of life, who is eager to attain self realization, God realization, nirvana, mukti, all these are the same thing. They must not permit themselves to be tempted by the lures of sex. It's a difficult thing, but once you understand it, it becomes very easy. If he submits to gross pleasures with the notion that later he will overcome them, he is terribly wrong. It's a constant tug of war with the mind, and one must prevail over it. He becomes like a person who has placed his feet in quicksand. If you give in to the temporary pleasures of the senses, then it's a downward spiral. No matter how much he tries to free himself, he continues to sink deeper and deeper into illusions, such as Maya. Thus, grihasthas or householders and their children must develop and deeply understand that in order to be truly successful, happy, and fulfilled in life, they must reverence the human body and recognize the profound nature of the sex relationship. It is not a toy. Bodies are not toys to be played with or just whenever the senses want to be pleased. It is a deeper relationship. It is God residing in each body. And ultimately, as they mature, their minds must eventually outgrow or outstep the illusions of sex altogether, because ultimately it's the spirit that gives us true happiness. Body is nothing but a skeleton with some meat, flesh and blood over it. The mind that does not evolve beyond illusions of pleasure and sex pleasure is one of the most powerful illusions, as we all know, that carries those illusions into old age and even beyond, even in their next life and the life after. Thus, you see many people who are in their 70s or even 80s are still imprisoned by those illusions. And the spirit moves from one body to another body, incarnation after incarnation, pursuing them like drinking salty water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. So, or like eczema, the more you scratch, it gives you temporary joy, but then the more you bleed, the deeper your wound gets. A pleasure loving person who runs from one mate to another until he is 90 years old is not really successful or happy. He is in a most miserable situation. But once you begin to overcome that illusion, because it's just an illusion, and transcending it is the art that we need to develop. Tremendous power is released within you once we learn that, and great virtuous qualities begin to unfold in your personality. So let's focus on the path to true brahmacharya. Every religion speaks of the importance of overcoming lust and passion. However, the Sanatana Dharma scriptures have given a profound insight into this process by detailing the mystic practice of Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya literally means living and moving in Brahman, or the Absolute, in its highest form. Brahmacharya implies being established in the awareness that I am Brahman. However, from a relative point of view, Brahmacharya is one of the yamas or restraints of Raja Yoga, and it is one of the most important foundation for one's spiritual movement. It consists of restraining the sex urge and then sublimating it. So there's a process that has to be overcome. So physical brahmacharya, according to the Vedic plan of life, one begins with brahmacharya ashram, the stage of discipline and abstinence from sexual indulgence, because those are the formative years where studies and absorption of jnana, knowledge, should be the focus. As a student, your brahmacharya was restricted to the body. That physical control of the sex urge although only the beginning stage of true brahmacharya, is of great importance for success in every aspect of your life. If during the student life you had developed profound spiritual aspiration, you would have taken the vow of Nashtika Brahmachari, or a lifelong celibate. Some great souls, due to their spiritual advancement in past lives, attain a very high degree of physical and mental purity even at an early age. When this is so, a brahmachari student need not marry and enter grihastha ashrama. He immediately embraces sannyasa or renunciation and strives to experience divine love, union with God, wherein passion is totally eradicated and sublimated. On the other hand, if a student has practiced brahmacharya physically without gaining inner dispassion, then the householder stage provides the opportunity for developing mental brahmacharya, or the opportunity for removing the roots of lust and passion from his unconscious mind. In the householder stage, one develops fidelity towards one's husband or wife. The sexual relationship becomes a basis for channelizing one's sexual propensities, and as higher love unfolds between husband and wife, sexuality begins to diminish. Thus, a householder is moving towards the attainment of brahmacharya in a gradual manner. Mental brahmacharya. The practice of brahmacharya on this level demands a vigilant watch over the mind. By self introspection, one must detect the presence of the sex thought immediately as it arises and try to remove it by turning the mind to the divine self. Whether one is a householder or a sannyasi, whether one is a married or a celibate, he must practice mental brahmacharya by inward introspection and self analysis. Mere external sex restraint is not enough. That will not work. If one does not strive to root out the subtle seeds of the passion from his unconscious, then very often his suppressed lust will change into anger, and anger into greed. Passion, anger, and greed are triple gates to hell, says Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. These three are born of rajas, the distracted modes of mind, and exist as interrelated, interdependent sentiments. Though a person may develop a notion that he is practicing brahmacharya, he will be deprived of the glorious powers of brahmacharya unless he has eradicated the seeds of all three of these vices through the profound understanding that he is not the body, he is essentially the immortal self. So, with this, we conclude our satsang for today, and we will continue this journey tomorrow. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Hari Om Tat Sat.